Let's walk through these forms in depth. Maybe you already saw the form introduction. This one's going to be a little bit lengthier. Or you can go back into settings in Form Builder. We're going to add a new form, and I'm going to walk you through some basics. And we're going to create a form here. We're going to call this a shipping checklist. And we have different options for form types and where they show up at and what they're tied to. And so in this case, we want to create something that's tied to orders. And so that'll show up in the order section or the shipping section. Over here to the left, we have some basic fields that we can put in and details that are gonna display and allow us to input the data and information that we want. So some of these are definitely way more advanced, but we're just gonna do some of the basic ones here. We're going to do a date and time. You can see the format. We can adjust that to whatever format you want that to display as. And I'm going to put in a number here. So we want to be able to put in an order number. And here is the label that is going to show up on this box. And we always need to click Save for each box that we do. Let's go ahead and add a, let's do a text field. I'd like to be able to put in the shipper name, so the person actually filling this out. And you can see that preview area. So so scrolling down here, we're going to do what's called a survey. You can also use this like a checklist. And we're going to call this our loading checklist. So this makes it really easy. Nothing needs to be typed. It's simply just tapping on the appropriate button. So we have two parts to the survey. We've got the questions to the left and then the values on top. And so the values are going to be our, like the yes, no. In a survey situation, it would be, somewhat satisfied, satisfied, or a scale of 1 to 10. So up here on top are the questions that we're going to have. And so for this one, thinking of, we're doing a pre-inspection on a semi-trailer before we load it. So as a shipper, we want to make sure and protect ourselves in case there's a claim against us from the trucking company. And so I'm just putting some things in here that we typically see shippers put in. So temperature, and then I'll go ahead and click add another, and it's really nice as we're doing this, we can see the layout and what it's going to look like as we're putting these things in and building this form. And then I'm going to put in any damage to the trailer, and also if yes, provide pictures. And so that way we're going to have pictures and they're going to be tied to this form. And to do that, we need to add a data field. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to put in what's called a data grid. And I don't want that label on there to say data grid. So you can very easily hide labels outside of these fields. And so now you can see the empty box sitting there. And I'm going to drop down here in the premium section the label of file. I'm going to title this damage pictures. You'll see over here that it's saying that a storage needs to be set up, and that just means that we have to tie this in this file place, and we're going to do base 64. And that's going to allow us to then store a file, a picture that we're going to drop into this form. So now we need to always make sure to save it. This is not going to save it in real time. It will only save once you click the save button. So now we're going to go to the order board. And remember, these are tied to the orders, and so that black box is where we can select and pull up these forms. So they're in the order board or the order detail, or I can also go to the shipping board and shipping detail. Depending on the employee and their role, this will allow access to this depending on their role and what they're doing at different points. So I'm just going to click on that, click on the shipping checklist. Let's go and fill this out like we're doing this in real time. I'm going to put in the date and time of day just because I have it here. I'm going to put in that order number and then also my name. And I'm going to go and fill this out. Yeah, the trailer's clean, temperature's fine. And any damage to the trailer, yeah, I think there's a little bit. So I'm going to take some pictures here. And I've taken a picture on my device. I'm going to browse through here and I'm going to add it. So now we can see that picture has been uploaded and now is attached to this form. And if I wanted to add another form, I can go and do that by clicking add another. And now that one's been uploaded. Or I can go and remove it. So I'm going to submit this form. We can see submission complete. I can go back into that form and view it and what was filled out. You can see down at the bottom form submission. I can click on this and now you can see everything populates back in. I can click on this. It will either download it and sometimes it opens up right. The best thing is to right click on it and open in a new tab. So I'm going to go into that new tab and here's that picture of that trailer. If there was specific damage, we now have a record of that and we're able to protect ourselves if we get into a dispute on damage to a semi. Now sometimes multiple submissions can happen on accident, dealing with dozens of loads a day. So I'm going to turn off this multiple submissions. This is something you might want to do when you're only ever going to do one inspection or one form per item, per order, per field, whatever you're attaching these forms to. So now when I pull this up, you'll see there's nothing at the bottom. It only shows what I've put in. And so this can be handy in preventing that duplication, and also shipping personnel, those doing the inspections or filling out the forms, can tell what was done. So I'm going to switch over into a different form. This one was done by a customer, and I'm just going to show, I'm here in the form builder, and they have a lot of forms. So I'm actually going to start typing in. It's the shipping checklist. This one's a lot more advanced. You'll see how this is laid out. We have a lot of those initial things we started on, but you can just see layout-wise what's possible here. They even have a free-form text field. You know, like in this case, if there was problems, what corrective action was taken. There's checkboxes for yes, no, or the actual surveys. And then there's one thing that we've done here. You're able to add JavaScript to these forms, and we're able to attach data from the form or from that order itself. You can see I've got some JavaScript down here, and basically this is to show you what's possible with these forms. So we'll go in here to fill one out and show you, you can see that order number there. So because we've added some JavaScript to pull data in automatically, that order number is populating, the ship to is populating. So you can tell if someone's in the screen, it's hard for them to pull that information out. And so this just simplifies the process. We also have this set up in a tab format where you can go and see everything all the way down, or you can go into a different tab. And then all these little red asterisks are items that we've made mandatory. So you cannot complete the form unless you do it. So if we go here into form submissions, this is going to show us a list of all the forms that have been submitted, and you can also go and view the detail of the forms here as well. Now I'm going to type in, there's a lot of different things we can type into search, like I'm doing shipping. So I just want to see my shipping forms. Or if we want to see a specific order number, and you can see it starts populating everything as we type, and until that item doesn't exist. So this one here is pulling that order number. We could type anything within that form. Like here's a -10. So anything either in the name, the type, the user, the date, and then anything within the form itself, we can pull that in. So here's just showing we can actually pull up the form and edit it from this screen as well. So there's two different areas, either with this one, either in the order or shipping area that we can go directly into the order, or we can go to our form board and see all these submissions. So let's look at one more option, and we have yet to find a limit with these forms. There's so many different amazing things you can do with them. In this case, we're receiving potatoes into a warehouse, and they do a dockside inspection as those potatoes come in. And so we can see we have a semi-load of potatoes coming in, and they're performing that dockside inspection. And we've been able to add a tab in their receiving, and they are actually performing their inspections. So this one's not done. Let's go to a previous day that we have one done. And they're actually going in and doing their inspection, putting the information into their form. And there's also a tab that shows a summary that has things calculated. And so they have a summary showing that. So there's lots of different options with these forms. And this has been a deep dive into forms and using them in Fusionware.